Hello, everybody. Joe Bag of Donuts here. Welcome back to another episode of MiHoYo. Not gonna be much of, wait time on this one. It's pretty much going up as soon as I'm done recording because, according to my every other day schedule, I'm already behind by, I was about to say a couple hours, but it's only 8:50 right now. I just got off work a little bit ago. Not too tired compared to what I was when I recorded last episode, but I got not torn, not like tossed through the ringer this weekend, but I got smacked around a little bit. My knuckles are all busted up from being in the cold and smacking on things, carrying cardboard boxes with staples sticking out of them all over the place that fucking stabbed into me, so I probably got tetanus now and some mysterious jungle disease from wherever those boxes came from. And I spent a couple hours last night running around in a gas mask and chem gear doing fucking dumb shit. So, once again, we'll be joined by my co-host, good old Samuel Adams here, after I break the bottles all over my desk. But when I was going through episode 2 there, I noticed that, one, my audio levels were all out of whack. Thank you very much for pointing those out in the original episode 2 video that I've since privated and rebalanced my audio levels in in Adobe Premiere. Re-uploaded it, and now I fiddled with it in OBS, so hopefully it's not as bad. And I also noticed that you can indeed hear my controller clickety-clacking on the mic. That was my fault. I had it pretty much directly underneath my mic instead of behind it, because the way I have my mic set up, instead of being like a 360 degree where it picks up sound, it's only supposed to be like conical in front of me. So normally I'm fine to click-clack on my keyboard when I'm playing like any other VN, but fuck me, I guess. So I got my controller in like one-hand Joy-Con mode, so that way I can hold it off to the side, so that way you don't have to listen. Anyway, let's get in there. And oh god, fuck, what even buttons do I push for fucking one-handed mode? Is it this one? Nope, that's back. Oh god, this is great, ain't it? Continue? There we go. Archive? Or next episode. We're off to a great start, aren't we? This is fantastic. Whatever. We read all of point fucking 2 chapter there. Oh, no, I want to go back. Shit. Oh god, I'm so not used to doing this one-handed. These are the production qualities we strive for here. Episode 2. Little happenings of last night. Yeah, that right. You're not Portland. Here's this track again. I honestly forget the name of this track. I just associate it in my head with the disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya. It's probably public domain from how much everyone uses it, like most classical music is. Sojiro sighed listlessly. He looked down at the winter schoolyard below, lost in thought. December was written in the corner of the chalkboard. He could not believe 10 days had already passed since he transferred to the school. The last vestiges of autumn had faded with the change of the month. Really? Autumn survived all the way to late November? That's fucking nuts. Wish I was where you were. The trees were all but barren, and the ground below a mat of fallen leaves. Fourth period was classics. An elderly teacher stood at the lectern and rambled on. While he had finally gotten used to the classroom, he still had a long way to go to get up to speed in his classes. Lacking even the basic understanding most students learn in their early scholastic life, it was a battle for Sojiro to keep up. No child left behind, baby! Even if he was unable to grasp all the content right away, he at least tried to memorize everything in a hope that he could make use of it down the road. Which is why losing himself in his thoughts was about the last thing he should have been doing. He would normally chastise himself for daydreaming, but yeah, being a teenager is rough, bud. Troublingly, he was unable to concentrate in class today. Sojiro could not place the source of his lack of concentration. It could not have been the winter in the city. It was much milder than in the mountains, neither was his part-time job particularly tiring. He was not any more physically fatigued than the average student, so that should not be it either. Others might conclude that it was because the courses were boring, but that seemed off the mark too. Sojiro did not share his classmates' opinions about their classes. On the contrary, he rather enjoyed his class time. No, his frame of mind was not to blame either. Trying to figure out what was wrong only made him more depressed.
いけない。こんなんじゃ気が散る一方だ。
It's called puberty, bud. All sorts of chemicals in your brain. He scolded himself and turned his attention to the chalkboard. The rhythmic ticks of the chalk were setting him into a slumber, but he somehow managed to resist their lullaby. And yet, he was still unable to focus on the class. Sojiro reflected silently, as was his custom, and sighed inwardly. Deep down, he knew the real source of his agitation. The events of the previous night were the only thing it could be. Were you doing a little in media res here? With the chime to signal the end of class, the teacher bowed and exited into the hallway. To see him off, the 30 or so students all stood up from their desks. The clock, which seemed to slow dramatically around 11:30, now struck noon. The tension seemed to fade from the room all at once. The release from a difficult lesson was the start of lunchtime, the highlight of school life. Unfortunately, when I was in high school, all my friends were in the different lunch period, so I just fucking got a wrap from the cafeteria. And I was on good terms with the marketing and accounting teachers, and they shared, like, the computer labs on the first floor. So I just hung out there and played, like, fucking, ROM hacks on the school PCs. It got to the point where eventually, one morning, when I had study hall, I went down there because there was nothing else going on. And like, hey, can you watch the classroom while we go to the fucking Macy's doorbuster sale? I'm like, yeah, sure, I guess. Like, great, we'll bring back some Dunkin' Donuts. So then I did that. High school was pretty easy for me. Misaki High's cafeteria was not particularly known for its quality of food. Complaints that the quality was below that of a private school went unheeded. And the same unique flavors appeared on the menu each and every day. Private school prices coupled with subpar quality led to the majority of students to opt for boxed lunches instead. Sojiro's class 2C was no exception. The boys muscled as many as 10 desks into what resembled a long dining table. Conversely, the girls divided themselves into smaller tables of 2 or 3 desks with practiced ease and started chatting with their cliques. Or cliques, if you're some people. A single student wasted even a second of their precious lunchtime. Where both sides differed in method, they shared a common goal. Sojiro was struck dumb by the efficiency of the transformation. Even after 10 days, he was unable to keep pace with the rest of class and remained seated where he had sat during the previous period.
Oi! Kochi yo, Shizuki!
The voice came from the large makeshift dining table near the window. Hosuke Kinomi. Oh, I fucking bit my mustache when I did that one. Kinomi, yeah, Kinomi. Was beckoning him over while leaning back in his chair in a way that looked like he could fall backwards at any second. Which means someone's gonna come and fucking hit his shoulder and knock him back on purpose. He was regularly shot down by others in class for being lazy and crass, but his earnest nature kept him from getting on anyone's bad side. Though sometimes that could, though something could be said for not being so forthcoming all the time, too. Words, they're hard.
これさ、昨日店の残り物もらいすぎたんだよ。春巻きだよ、春巻き。それを見た親父がさ、もらったもんは残すなってうるさくてさ。It
seemed his endgame was to find someone who might take pity on him and trade him for something better. The two of them worked at the same restaurant, so he was one of the few people Sojiro knew before starting school. It was also the reason Sojiro was able to learn the true meaning of the phrase, can't live with him, can't live without him. Aww. He's got off when? I'm pretty, you know, fond of canned food. Honestly, it's what fucking sustains me most of the time, but that's mainly because I'm a stingy asshole, and cooking for one is just way too much hassle. The cleanup is not worth it. I'll fucking live off canned chili and like just raw produce, like some apples and oranges in the fridge, you know, some soup. Maybe my coworkers think I'm nuts, but I fucking love like canned like herring and like oysters and stuff. Like that stuff. I'm probably like way over on my mercury levels that are supposed to be healthy, but hey, you know, we all gotta die eventually.
バカすげえ楽しいってきっと。そりゃパチモン臭いけどカニ缶とか食い放題なんだぜ。サバ缶じゃなくて。
Like, it's good taste, but even like canned, it's too stringy. It's not worth the effort. Lobster's so much better.
それとも早い者勝ち
But that's because I'm from New England, where lobster's cheap and fucking on the menu all the time.
お前な、一人で何個も食えるもんじゃねえぞあれ。
Shout out to my messed out fucking Maine lobster fishers. You guys are the real ones.
しずきたちが来るならノルマは一人7個に下がるのか。
ところで木の実の弁当の中身なんか缶詰より硬そうじゃね
The boys usually passed the time by making fun of each other's lunches, but today they were united against a common foe. A pyramid of countless cans stood in the middle of the table. They'd all been taken from the pantries of a certain student from the pantry of certain student's house. The pantry of certain students of a certain student's house. I was about to say, like, shouldn't the plural be like the apostrophe after the S? But no, there is a singular student's house, and the expiration dates on them had all been scribbled out with a marker.
よしやろうども。各自毎缶切りの用意はいいな。食べるも地獄、残すも地獄。我ら5次元
If
目
you
の
really
授業
want
は
to do
ない
it,
も
you
のと
need to
恐れ
like
ぬ
take
修
off
羅
all
と
the
なり。
labels. You're just left
鉄
with
の悪魔ど
plain
もを
tin
平らげん。
cans. Play fucking Russian roulette.
食材は下町の何でも紹介。マーケット中山からの提供です。
It's about to say you got someone named McCoy in your fucking class. Like downtown's a pretty cool nickname, but no, it's a shop. The boys united as one and hoisted their can openers in the air.
ほら、しずきも食べようぜ。缶切りならまだあるからさ。
いや、君らの弁当の毒味はごめんだって昨日言ったはずだ。
Yeah, free food's free food, man.
その缶詰半分以上
Fucking all skin and bones. Gotta get some meat.
なんだよ、釣れねえ
And
な。
the expiration date on like canned things doesn't really mean anything. That's just like it's like quote unquote shelf stable life. When it's like this is when it's best buy. It's still good after for a fair bit. Quite an inexplicably excited group of guys. The real motivation seemed to be to spread the pain. It's like when someone brings a bag of those like ghost pepper chips and everyone has to have a couple to die, so that way we can all suffer together and bond. But moved by their energy and conceding defeat, Sojiro got up from his seat and joined them. And before he could,
じゃあ私たちが釣り上げようかな。しずきくん、あんなの放っておいて一緒にどう？
another interested party joined the fray. A girl with short but stylish hair had called out to him. She had also tried to get Sojiro to join the track and field club several days earlier.
いや、そっちも遠慮したいな。できれば。
I mean, he probably would be a good runner with some training, you know. Dude's, like I said, just a fucking rail. But, you know, the bandages around the neck, probably best to let that, you know, recover in peace. He answered with a troubled look on his face. On the table was nothing but a pile of fruit Sojiro had never seen before.
なんで？パパイヤとか嫌い？
Now, papayas?
マンゴーもあるし、ヤシの実だってあ
I
る
can
し。
go with mangoes, no coconut though. I think coconut's gross.
夕張メ
I'm
ロ
fine
ン
with
もあるんだ
coconut
けど。
water, but like coconut milk and like the actual meat of the coconut is not for me. I also don't know what a yabari melon is. The members of the fruit group pumped their fists in unison at the last delicacy.
待て、なんだヤシの実って。あれ食えるもんなの？
Yeah, you got a machete?
あ、マンゴー余ったら回してほしいな。バカ、肉食え肉。そんなんだから貧弱な体してんだぞ、お前ら。
Especially if they're like, you know, quote unquote fresh. They make my lips and gums burn. I'm mildly allergic to like apples too. They like make my throat scratchy, but nothing that I can't handle. The real pain is carrots. Those make my like stomach upset if I eat like too many raw. If I like roast them or boil them, they're fine, but just like raw carrots kind of makes me a little nauseous. Sojiro couldn't keep track of all the voices flying across the room. which is especially painful because I
どっ
like
ちも
Karens a
破
lot.
滅的だってことだけど。
That being said, I found it difficult to refuse them outright. His tendency to accept others' goodwill at face value often left him frozen with indecision. Not accustomed to regular human interaction, he was unable to judge whether it was or was not appropriate to turn someone down. Someone tapped the lost little lamb on the shoulder.
ほっとけほっとけ。いちいちここのバカどもに付き合ってちゃ人生台無しだ。適当に流しとけばいいんだよ。
Mm-hmm.
ほら、お前らもな、善良な羊を悪の園に引きずり込んでんじゃねえよ。
An inappropriately loud voice echoed throughout the classroom from behind him.
副会長、
Sojiro turned around to see a boy about a head taller than him. He only seems to be about half a head, but if you say so, game. His long hair, well unkempt, had been brushed back, giving it an appealingly windswept look. His attractive features belied a contempt for the classroom his eyes carried. Contempt for the classroom his eyes. What? His attractive features belied the contempt. The contempt. There was a the in there. Contempt for the classroom his eyes carried. Unlike the perpetually droopy-looking Sojiro, he was an extremely attractive boy, capable of captivating anyone who so much as glanced at him. In most cases, such a boy's presence would be met with awe and respect. However,
なんだよ、副会長様のお出ましかよ。てめえらのバカ顔にはコリゴリだって学食に陣取
yeah,
ってたんじゃなか
personality
ったの
plays
か
a
よ。
bit of a factor.
へへへここは見ての通りボンクラどもが集う貧民街でございますよ。王子はほら A 組の綺麗どころとカフェでお茶でもしてればいいじゃない。
But some people like the toxic personality.
青子女子といい飛び丸殿下といいしずきなんかやばいことしちゃったのか。
しずきくんは高速違反しないじゃん。ちょっとそれ以外のルール破
Well,
るだ
yeah,
けで。
the rules there. Why would you break them?
ってことはやっぱり築地くん青崎に振られてからそっ
Alright,
ちに走
Fujio,
ったって
she's
本
fucking
当だったのね。
keep it hidden away from the public eyes. They continue to give him a hard time. Sojiro cannot help but feel sorry for him. Class vice president, on the other hand, showed absolutely no reaction whatsoever. He glared at them with a bored look and simply raised his voice.
相変わらず無駄に元気があって結構じゃねえかてめえら。そんなに活力たぎってんなら冬季特別清掃班にだって参加できるよ
Winter
な。
cleaning.
おい、今んところ自主的に
I
申し出
say
て
as
る
I
のは全
look out
校
my
で一人し
sunroom
かい
window
ねえ
in
ん
my
だ。
backyard with all the
西
leaves still
全
there
員が
that I
参
need
加すり
to...
ゃ俺も青崎も肩
I'm
の
not
荷が
gonna
降りるって
rake
も
him
んなん
up, I'm
だ
just
が
gonna run him
よ。
over with the lawnmower and mulch him and let him, sink into the soil, good old nutrients. The menacing growl in his voice contrasted greatly with the boy's well-constructed looks. Both Team Canned and Team Fruit's words were doused like a fire being smothered. This was partly due to their fear of the boy, but mostly due to their fear of the Special Winter Cleaning Team. Yes, the Special Winter Cleaning Team. Joining meant spending part of your winter break cleaning up the old school building and mountainous rear courtyard that had been neglected by the previous two student councils. 2 student councils. It was a form of legalized torture that could potentially ruin 3 whole days of your winter break. And forget about any compensation in the form of extra credits. No, it was pointless volunteer work for a student council project. It's practically a miracle that they had found even a single volunteer.
いや僕らちょっと体弱いんでスミッチョで
Oh
缶詰
god,
食べてます。
cleaning up in the winter, that sucks. My dad worked at a car dealership, so as a kid, obviously I was free labor that was doing nothing on snow days, so like, hey, you want to earn fucking $10? Go shovel the car lot with all the other fucking kids of the people that work there. All the students but one scuffled away.
よし、昼食はやっぱり静かにやらねえとな。1年坊主の教室より2年の教室の方がやかましいなんて苦情。いい加減にしやがれよ、アホども。
The mob meekly scurried away. Sojiro turned to join them, but as he did,
あ、 お前はこっちだ、宗次郎。ちょい顔貸せ。
Yeah, these loner outcasts gotta stick together, you know? The hand on his shoulder held him in place.
だよ生徒会応募。人んちのテーブルマナーまで指図してほしくねえよな。
Kinomi cursed him under his breath to his friends the second the vice president turned to go. Doesn't sound like it was very under his breath.
上等じゃねえか、木の実。いいぜ。お前が記念すべき2人目だ。冬休み、首を洗って待ってやがれ。
The vice president must have heard everything Kinomi said because he gave a thumbs up before figuratively jabbing him in the eyes.
はあ？何言ってんですかあいつ。あれ自主的なイベントじゃん。いくら副会長だって
Congratulations,
強
you
制
just
はで
learned
き
about
な
the
いですよ
term
ね。
voluntold. The problem child at Class C laughed merrily.
そりゃ昨日までの話だ。会長の提案が学校側に受理されてな。本日付で生徒会役員は強制力のある推薦権をもらえたんだよ。特に会長と副会長
Trying
の
to
推
ferment a
薦は
revolution?
絶対
Fucking Christ.
拒否した場合、学校側はともかく青崎が何するか俺には止められねえから、そのつもりでな。
I mean, she can get angry as she wants, you know. Fucking, as long as I lock my door and fucking don't answer, she comes to beat it down, you know. She can't physically drag me. Well, I mean, she could physically drag someone to go shovel snow or fucking whatever. But, you know, actually breaking and entering, you know, would cause more problems than it's worth. Kinomi's terrified shrieks continued behind them as the vice president and Sojiro left the classroom.
What
a dusty-looking archive.
あんたも割と暇なんだな、副会長。
The two entered the empty student council room. Misaki High School Student Council had the use of 2 rooms. One was a large office specifically made for the student council. The second was an archive room, once used as a preparatory office for math courses. It sounds hideous. As the latter of the two, the walls were lined with densely packed shelves, making an already cramped room seem even more confined. For this reason, it served more as a private refuge to the student council. The 2 students sat across from one another. No matter the work, we can't escape the student council room, can we? Maru Hukiji, there we go. I can read, I promise. He was the son of the chairman of Misaki High School and the vice president to its student council. Like Sojiro, he was in his 2nd year, and first met the transfer student a week earlier when the task of looking after him was dumped onto the student council.
副会長はやめろって。クソったれな話だが、俺は所詮会長の犬だからな。
I don't even know what that means, but sure. As self-deprecating as his words were, he hardly seemed dissatisfied with the arrangement. He took a snack from his pocket and grimaced at it before taking a bite. The 100-calorie energy bar sacrificed flavor for efficiency, but somehow was not enough to prevent him gnawing on it like a piece of jerky.
そうか。でも犬は良くないな、飛び丸。
Yeah, people should be people. What a wild concept. Sojiro sat in the chair with a concerned look on his face.
あ？犬がどうしたって？
犬は良くないって言った。例えが違う気がするし、何より怖いぞ、あれ。
What, you scared of dogs? No, dogs are great.
なんだ？
It's just people
山奥
should be
育ち
people,
のくせ
not
に
dogs.
犬が怖いのか？
そりゃ大抵の生き物は怖いけど、犬は別格だ。
What, like packs of fucking feral dogs roaming the mountains where you're from?
徒党を組んだ野犬ほど始末に追えないものはない。足の速さも脅威だけど、何より執念深すぎる。坂だろうと追いかけてくるし、最後の一匹になるまで引かないんだぞ。
Good old pack hunters. Sojiro opened his lunch as he spoke. Inside the bright green cloth, 3 beautifully made triangular rice balls.
ショックだ。
Yeah,
ショ
what?
ックって
That
何が？
he brought food? What do you mean?
いや、 そんなこの世のものとは思えない握り飯を見たのは初めてだ。
Yeah, how so? Are they
思わず
finally
絶句
made?
しちまった。
We need more details.
それどっちなんだ？
褒めてるんだよ、バカ。
Sojiro was always confounded by phrasing that could be interpreted in multiple ways. Euphemisms and subtle sarcasm were often lost on him. I'll be honest, that's probably like one of the first times I've ever seen euphemisms actually spelled out. It was only on rare occasions, like this one, that he chose to confirm what was being said. Tobimaru had come to suspect that Sojiro had a very black and white way of seeing things.
ところで
Not really, what led you to
そ
think
の
that?
固まった小麦粉みたいなの美味しいのか？
Sojiro stared at the energy bar with a curious look on his face.
まずくはねえが、
I mean,
うまく
I
も
like
ねえな。
Calorie Mate. Calorie Mate's pretty good,
まあ試してみる分には
especially the chocolate flavor. We used to have a box in the trunk, but you know.
何事も手間暇惜しむようになっちゃおしまいだぜ。こと、
Oh, shit, son, I cut him off. Tobimaru quickly finished off his bar, put another one on the table, and grabbed one of Sojiro's rice balls. Sojiro failed to notice the rudeness of the forced exchange and gave the proffered energy bar a try.
なんだか土を食べてるみたいだ。
Eat dirt a
違い
lot?
ない。遊びをなくせば人生こんなもんだって見本だな。
Not a principle, Sojiro labored over his energy bar, cringing all the while. He was both curious of the unknown and loath to leave something unfinished.
今無理に平らげる必要
Clean
は
your
ねえ
plate.
ぞ。そいつの利点は携帯食ってところ
Fortunately,
だ
I'm
から
not a
な。
picky eater. I will eat
素
fucking
で味
literally
気ないが、
anything that's
食
put
え
in
る
front
う
of
ち
me
は
unless
味
it
が落ちないのが
actually
いいところ
hurts.
だ。まあそっちはともかく。
Even then, I'll still struggle through
少
it.
しは慣れたか
Like one time I went to a Thai place and I ordered a 4 on the spiciness because a little spice is good. Not knowing that their spice scale went from 0 to 4 instead of 1 to 5. So I ordered the most spicy, which destroyed my white boy mouth and asshole. It was awful, but I still finished it all, like the good boy I am. I didn't drink the broth though. I couldn't force myself to do that.
ああ、飛丸や青崎が気を使ってくれているからね。
Tomimaru turned his eyes up to the ceiling, unable to handle Sojiro's carefree smile. As absent-minded as Sojiro might have been, his expressions were nonetheless incredibly earnest. It was like poison to someone as self-absorbed as Tobimaru.
だから青崎は来ねえんだよな。
Mm-hmm. He's like a puppy. Took a bite from the rice ball to steer himself away from such thoughts. Though now cold, the rice had managed to maintain its freshness, startling Tobimaru.
ん？いや待て。気を使ってんのは俺だけじゃねえか。青崎なんてお前が
Yeah,
転
that
入した
sounds
日
like her.
彼迷惑だから見張っててのひ。
なんでそこで君が怒るんだ？
いや、だからだな。お前が学校になれるよう陰ながら見守ってんのは俺で。
There's other
青
people,
崎は
but
生徒会室で全校生徒の弱みを集めてるだけって話だ。面倒な苦労してんのは俺だけじゃねえかって。
Tobimaru stopped himself, realizing how ridiculous he sounded. Sojiro, rightly so, knew it was nothing to get upset over.
まあ、いいさ。青崎に言いつけられなきゃ、
Uh-huh.
こうなることもなかったしな。知ってるかあいつ、どうして俺にこんな役させたと思う？
Not a clue, besides the fact that she didn't want to have to do it herself.
副会長だからだろ。
And she's the president. Delegate down, it's one of the key components of leadership. Can't do everything yourself. Tobimaru's handsome face went dark.
あのな、どうして副会長が転入生一人にかかりっきりにならなくちゃいけねえんだよ。
It's not like you're doing much else. I mean, really, you're the student council, not the fucking, like, actual governing body of the school.
いいぜ。機会があったら青崎本人に聞いてみな。あいつの本性がわかるからよ。
I mean, she's kind of a lazy bum. But, unless you mean something else. He snatched another bite of the rice ball while grumbling under his breath. There it was again. Rice grains that were just dry enough to be fresh and tender to the mouth. A morsel that betrayed its humble description, which must have been delicately molded by a master chef rather than haphazardly clumped into a ball. Any filling or just
そして何よりこの塩加減、中の具から
Just
染み出した厳妙な醤油加減はどうだ。食欲をそそるどころか、脳を食欲だけにする。
Sojiro seems like the kind of guy who'd throw a pickled plum in the middle.
飛び丸、思ってることが口に出てるみたいだけど。
Yeah, this isn't a cooking manga.
ああ、いや、それほどのショックだったってわけだ。
What, that my man can
No,
like cook
Sonoji.
the most basic
これ
commodities?
具はなんだ。
It was only natural to inquire about the unexpectedly delicious bite. He had been nibbling around the edges and had not yet reached its center.
ああ、それはイナゴ。
Oh,
ありえね
I've had grasshopper before. It's fine. It's just kind of like the carapace is kind of like papery and gets caught in your teeth. The vice president choked on his cough. He had assumed that Sojiro would prefer earthly ingredients instead of seafood on account of his mountain life, but he never expected he would use grasshoppers.
くそ、食う前に言えよな。信じられねえぐらいう
I mean,
まい
are
と
they
思っ
like
ちまったじゃねえ
mashed?
か。
Like, did you turn them into a paste? I'd imagine so.
あ
Good source of
あ、
protein.
今のは嘘だよ。
Jodan, Jodan. They locked eyes for a moment.
本当は鮭。
うん
いくらなんでもイナゴはね。
Great, now you're making me look like the weird one for having eaten
そうだ
grasshopper.
よな。いや、安心した。いいか。
ああ、こんな都会で身の締まったイナゴが手に入るもんか。
Well, that's a lie. Grasshoppers are fucking everywhere. As curious as those words were, Tobimaru decided to let them go.
たく。
Get plenty of
どっ
cicadas,
ち
though.
にしても冗
A
談
brood
きついぜ
hatched around here this summer.
危うく
It was
吐き出す
awful.
ところだっ
They
た
had
じ
to
ゃね
put
えか。
they had to put
Gosh,
warnings on the
Jesus,
radio
Joe.
saying if you're allergic to shrimp and seafood, don't eat the cicadas.
君が青崎の悪口を言うからだ。
Sojiro closed his eyes as he continued to chew on his rice ball. Tobimaru watched incredulously as Sojiro made no attempt to hide his disapproval.
おい、今のはさすがに聞き捨てならねえぞ。俺が青崎の悪口を言ったから、
Naoko's been
意思
pretty
返しを
good
した
to the
と
guy.
そういうことか。
I mean, she's a little prickly, but heart's in the right place, I guess. Sojiro continued chewing. The country boy's silent protest said all that needed to be said. The vice president suddenly looked like he had been struck by lightning.
なんてこった。お前、まさか青崎に惚れてんのか。そうなのか。そうなんだな。おい、眠ってねえで起きろ。
Tobimaru flew out of his chair and finally shook Sojiro by the shoulders. You know, but sharing about her personality. Sojiro opened his eyes.
そうか。お前は1年前の惨劇を知らないんだな。
Plot dump us, please.
知ってりゃ、そんなストレートな破滅願望を持つこともなかったろうに。
君の言葉には誤解が含まれてるけど、それは後にする。それより、
Spill
1
the
年前の
beans.
惨劇って
Tobimaru regained his composure and sat down after a moment's thought.
仕方ねえ。この手の噂をするのは好きじゃねえんだけど
Yep,
な。
we're just exchanging knowledge between friends. This ain't gossip. Tobimaru reassured himself that it was in Sojiro's best interest as a young man to know.
あれは青崎がまだ1年の頃の話だ。あの頃はみんな入学したばっかりで、青崎がどんな性格か誰も知らなかった。
I mean, yeah, makes sense.
あいつ、外見は文句なしに美人だからな。
I mean, I get where you're coming from, but you're talking about her when she was like 15, so,
そりゃ男
Whatever, man.
狂気乱舞
You're like
したもんさ
17, I'll let it slide. Little did they know that soon after, they would go crazy for an entirely different reason.
4月5月はもう上を下への大騒ぎだよ。あの時ばかりは上級生も下級生もなかったな。
I mean, yeah, really, who fucking gives a shit?
野郎同士の牽制、共闘、果ては決闘まで。まあ、よくも騒いだもんさ。青崎
Damn it, you keep cutting him off. Fuck!
なんで
I gotta
そん
work
な
on
よ
that.
くわからない事態になるんだ？
そりゃ、青崎は一人き
The rare
り。
feature in the ends is like when they have the little bar that tells you how far along the dialogue has progressed. You know, the spoken dialogue at least. Makes it a whole lot easier for me.
一人一人青崎とランチしても
When I get
3
fucking
ヶ月
trigger
かかる
happy
ぞ
and just start click, 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 click.
だからまずは男同士でつまんねえ暗闘があったのさ。まあ
So who got the finals?
わからねえならそこは飛ばそう。
Was there a losers bracket?
所詮負け犬どもの話だしな。本筋にはなりえねえ。でな、そんなどうでもいい戦いを勝ち残った奴らは列なして1年の女に言
The
い寄っ
best
た
of
わ
the
け。
best. You know, as good as a fucking 15-year-old guy can be, huh?
青崎はあれで、なんていうか、相手のなけなしの誠意じゃなくてあれか、勇気。そういうのを無視できずに認めちまうやつだからな。
Yeah, you know, no need to be like mean about it.
言い寄ってくる相手を可能な限り丁寧に
You
断
know,
って
just a firm no thank you.
が、中にはそれで勘違いし
Which
まう
I
やつも
wasn't
いた
very
よ。
good at in high school, you know. It's a little bit of a heartbreaker, man. I may not have made a couple girls cry turning them down.
3
feel
年
bad
もある
about
だ
it
ろう
now.
な。これは脈ありと見て、青崎
Ew,
に何度も言い寄っ
gross.
たんだよ。
When you're like 18, hitting on like fucking 14, 15-year-olds. Ugh.
多分、そいつ頭がおかしかったんだ。今にして思うと、そうとしか思えん。
But maybe that's because I'm at that point in my life where it's like, I'll be on like Tinder or whatever, and I say like an 18-year-old, I'm like, oh, you are a fucking child. Be gone. I'm a single mom magnet.
青崎の家まで押しかけたそうでな。
Double-edged sword.
あまりにしつこいんで、青崎も堪忍袋の尾が切れたんだろう。ちょっと、口にするのははばかられる方法で
Yeah,
振
that's
ったんだよ。
that's a no-go, boss.
結果、そいつは自分から他校に転入希望したばかりか、三崎町からも逃げ出しちまって、青崎も1ヶ月ばかり自宅謹慎を
Cool.
食ら
So
った。
1 month suspension.
世に言う血の公会堂事件だ。詳しく知りたけりゃ本人はまずいな。
I
新
mean,
聞部にでも
she
行け。
probably spilled the beans
あ
about
そ
it.
この部
Pretty
長は
openly.
命知らずだから聞けば面白がって教えてくれる。
飛び丸、その具体的な表現を恋に避けてないか？
仕方ねえだろう。理事長の息子だろうがなんだろうが怖いものは怖えし、高校ぐらいは無事卒業しとかねえとな。
I mean, your position in life isn't all that grand. You know, you're the son of a fucking school board member.
うちの女子の制服見るたびに規制を上げるトラウマなんて持ちたくねえよ。
Sojiro tilted his head to the side in confusion. Tobimaru had lost him with that comment.
まあいい。それより、なんで青崎なんかがいいんだよ、そう
I
じゃ。
mean, she's been pretty nice to him. He tilted his head again, this time to the other side.
おい、お前、本当に青崎が好きなのか？
No.
単に胸がドキド
Sojiro
キ
seems
言
like
って
a
るだけ
pretty
なら
sexless kind
それは
of guy.
恋じゃなくて恐怖だってオチもある
He
ぜ。
could probably get some, you know, with a
Yeah, so long as you
fucking
got
goody
Bonnie
two-shoe kind of attitude,
理由って
but
もんが
no,
ある
some
だろ。
girls are into that. But he's not fucking putting out any feelers right now. He tilted his head even further. What Tobimaru was saying sounded off, but Sojiro decided not to press the matter. All the more because he found many of his own emotions towards Aoko Aozaki to be incomprehensible.
そうだな、おかしい。俺はあまり彼女を知らないのに。
Unless he is starting to, you know, catch a little something that he can't even describe. Ooh, how juicy. That was because they had not truly spoken to each other since the day she showed him around. Every time Sojiro tried to talk to her, she immediately got up and left. As fate would have it, they ended up working together that recent Sunday, but only made idle chatter on the way and back.
けど飛び丸、君は知らないだけなんだ。時々なんだが、誰かの視線を感じて振り返ってみると、いつ失敗するかを心配して見ている人がいる。
People can't help but worry about you, bud.
飛び丸の言
You're a
う通
fucking
り、
basket case.
ただ廊下で俺を見かけて、単に監視していただけなのかもしれない。本当は俺のことなんて気にせず素通りしたいのかもしれない。
But then again, this is before Evangelion, so people don't really know about tsunderes. How sad.
どんな種類であれ、
At least in the
彼
timeline
女の心
of,
配は本物だ。
you know, when this story is taking place.
それに、ここが一番大事だと思うんだけど、実際の話、青崎のそういうところのおかげで、俺は助かっていたりするんだ。
How so? His tone was measured and sincere. Tobimaro sighed with a tinge of regret. If not for those words, he could have introduced Sojiro to a more suitable girl with whom he could have lived out the rest of his school days in peace. He never went to such lengths for his other friends. Generally speaking, it was of some benefit. If it was of some benefit to him, he was unafraid of exploiting others. If they were of no use, he didn't bother getting involved with them. That was how Tobimaro Tsukiji operated. Nothing wrong with that. Sojiro happened to be the type of person who provided no benefit to Tobimaro. It somehow sparked in him a desire to help. It's not that friendship was completely alien to him, just not have many people he felt that close to. So if Sojiro had really fallen for Aoko, it was not his place, as a friend, to try to change his mind.
やれやれ
Yeah, get burned on your own time, bud.
惚れてるやつには理由なんていらねえんだな。
そんなことはない。理由なら一つある。彼女を一目見たときに、綺麗だなって思ったぞ。
Eh, sometimes that's all you need to, get the spark.
Huh?
The feeling can mature and germinate from there. Tobimaru's shoulders slumped.
なんだなんだけ恥ずかしいセリフ言っといて、要は外見に惚れてますな。結局見てくれかよ、宗次郎。
綺麗なものに見とれるのは、いいことじゃないのか？
She's a fine specimen.
自分を綺麗に見せる努力をしているんだから。
He's looking
外見から
respectful.
内面を判断するのは。
Sojiro is
そんな
very
おか
much
し
the
な
kind of
話じゃ
guy
ない
to
と思う。
drink his respect women juice. That sounded like sophism to Tobimaru, but he had no counterpoint to offer.
しょうがねえ。わかったよ。この話はも
Yes,
う
your
やめ
features
よ
are
う。
very symmetrical.
その字が誰をてめえの女にするか、俺の知ったことじゃねえし。
Now, about the one major reason that Tobimaru had been mistaken about this whole conversation. Namely, that Sojiro was not head over heels in love with Aoko and hoped to go steady with her. He merely liked her as a person. Nobody could have foreseen the massive calamity that would be caused by this simple misunderstanding.
だがよ、一つだけ忠告しておくぜ、宗次郎。青崎は喧嘩をした相手だろうと別に嫌うわけじゃない。
Mm-hmm.
逆に言えば、
Gotta work
親
through
切
the
にしたっ
sun
て
to get
別
at
に
the
好かれ
dairy.
るわけでもない。いい例が俺だ。
What, is she on good terms with you? Because, you're the vice president and the chairman's son. He spoke with a pained sigh as if opening old wounds from the past,
そうか。詳しく。
and he gets shot down.
おう、昔な、あいつがあんまりに独善的だったんだ。
Oh!
つい手を挙げかけちまったことがある。
Yeah, that's not good, bud. Don't be hitting people. Doesn't matter if she's a woman, just don't hit people in general. That's a fucking bad idea.
1年もあいつと生徒会やってたもんだから、俺も女っつうより戦友って気になっててな。つい勢いで平手打ちをしようと右手を上げた。我ながら
You were going for it good,
バ
huh?
ッターも角也という腰のひねり。
But fucking, she's a melty, so we know Aoko got hands. He had a distant look in his eyes, as his words trailed off.
翌日になって、こりゃ完全に敵扱いされたなと、覚悟して生徒会室に行ってみりゃ。
Ooh, just even worse, fucking indifference.
で、以来あいつと俺は会長と副会長で収まってる。
Sojiro sighed at his story. Then he said, with absolute confidence,
今の話を総合すると、君は単にのろけたいのか？
Clearly, he had missed the point entirely.
なわけあるか！今の話のどこに甘酸っぱい要素があんだよ。俺としちゃ、あいつを女として見なくなった決定的な事件だったんだがね。
なんだ？
I'll
違
be
うのか？
100%. You're kind of missing me with this point too here, bud. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? A look of disappointment flitted across Sojiro's face. Tobimaru revised his opinion of him. Sojiro was something of a simpleton, but there was something more about him that Tobimaru could not quite place.
とにかくだ。俺が言いたいのは、青崎青子の好き嫌いの基準ってのは普通じゃないってことだ。いいことをすれば好かれる、気に入らないことをすれば嫌われるってわけじゃねえんだよ。あのお姫様は。
Sojiro answered that he would keep it in mind as he looked to the clock. Okay, now I kind of get the point of his story. She's off in her whole other world, doing her own thing, you know. Don't expect, like, the normal rules of society to make any sense, you know, on your quest to woo her. But, here's what it is. They had been talking for a while, and lunch was almost over.
もう君からの話はないか？
あ？初めからね。
Yeah, you're just killing time.
ん？
Why had Tobimaru even brought him here in the first place? Sojiro tilted his head in wonder, but shook it off to deal with a more pressing matter at hand.
よし。じゃあもう少し付き合ってくれ。飛び丸に聞きたいことがあったんだ。
ん？
Tobimaru sat up straight, having never seen Sojiro's face look so serious before. Sojiro set aside his rice ball and cleared his throat.
実は昨日、こんなことがあって。
He spoke solemnly. And, as carefully as possible, he recounted what had occurred the night before. You see a little something you, maybe shouldn't have? Hopefully you're not going to get stabbed in the chest with a spear. It was 10 to 12, and It was 10 to 12, and lunchtime was quickly coming to an end. Her face popped into Class C, as lively as ever, as if it were an everyday occurrence. Aoko Ozaki announced her presence. While Aoko wasn't part of Class C, she didn't let it bother her as she casually entered the classroom. In contrast, the baby birds who had been known so noisily chirping while eating lunch quickly quieted and began to rearrange their seats.
どういう意味よそれ。
No, they're just like, oh shit, the fucking student council president's here, better be all fucking proper and whatnot. She bristled internally before looking around the room. She could not see the male student she had come here to find. He hardly stood out, so she thought he might be hidden in a corner somewhere, but that appeared to not be the case.
有里君、出席番号12番のしずき君は
Oops. Faceless mook? Aoko kept her tone professional.
俺？しずきならさっき飛び丸殿下が連れて行ったよ。
The boy was shocked that she actually knew his name. One might think that the reason students refer to Tobimaru Tsukiji by a royal title is because he was the chairman's son, but it was because he actually acted like royalty. In fact, the vice president was said to have taken a liking to the title.
飛び丸があいつしずき
Eh,
君と
nothing
仲い
wrong
い
with
の？
strutting your stuff. She seemed surprised. The class seemed surprised at her surprise.
いいも悪いも 築地くんが男子と仲良く話してるのって今まで見たことなかったよ、私たち。あ、木の実くんはバカだから別だけど。
Mm-hmm.
そうだよな。初めは殿下もあんまり話してなかったけど、3日もしたら楽しそうに口喧嘩してたもんな。ま、
Sojiro is so helpless, it tickles his paternal instincts that you must look after him, protect him and rear him right.
そうよね。いい人だもんね、宗十郎くん。
Well, at least he gets along with his class. Having recomposed themselves, Class C started chatting again. Akko listened for a bit before turning around and leaving the classroom with a later. This room might be a little cramped for 3 people, even if there are 4 seats. All the Sojiro talk finished as quickly as it had started. Lunchtime was coming to a close in the student council room. Sojiro, having told his story, was smiling in satisfaction. Tobimaru, still sitting across from him, was frowning.
さあ、感想を聞かせてくれ。
Sojiro told his yarn as best he could. Tobimaru fingered his brow as if he was angry or concerned.
なあ、ソノジ。お前、人をバカにできるほ
Like
ど
what?
器用な
Don't
や
don't
つじゃ
all
ね
city
えよ
people have fucking magic battles or whatever in the park?
失礼な。器用な方だぞ、俺は。
You sure about that? His response only confirmed Tobimaru's suspicions. It had to be one of 2 possible conclusions. That what Sojiro had just told him was true, or that Sojiro was so tired that he must have been hallucinating at the time. Tobimaru sincerely hoped it was the latter. Yeah, it was all just swamp gas. Always just blame it on the swamp
俺はお
gas,
前が気に入って
even if you're nowhere near a swamp.
嘘のない人間なんてのは人間じゃねえ。俺は人間嫌いだからそんなお前さんが気に入ってたりするんだが、
But he doesn't seem like the kind of guy to
そ
just
んな
lie
や
to
つまで
someone's
馬鹿
face
げ
like
たこ
that.
とを言い出したら、俺は明日から何を頼りに昼飯を食えばいいんだ。
学食で食べればいいんじゃないか。
Get your fucking ticker thinking, like, like, what am I missing here? Hearing a suggestion, Tobimaru's face darkened.
わかった。はっきり言おう。それは幻覚だ。幽霊の正体見たり枯れ尾花ってやつだろうさ。それでも納得いかないってんなら、いい精神科を紹
Better
介
than
し
an
て。
exorcist.
それが君の感想か。よし、ならいいんだ。
Yes, what a grounded, fucking response. As bitter as Tobimaru's words might have sounded to most, Sojiro swallowed them whole.
そりゃ俺だって神隠しの類だと思ったよ。けど都会じゃもしかしてそれもありなのかもしれないだろう。確かめたかったのはそこなんだ。
Satisfied, Sojiro finished off his last rice ball and neatly folded the cloth.
おい、すると何か
Yeah, he's not trying to get your goat or anything.
お前は都会の人間は口から火を吹いたり、腕が伸びたりするのが普通だと思ったのか？
まあ普通じゃないけど特別でもないんじゃないかと思った
Yeah, you know, fucking, he doesn't know how the rules work here.
ここは山にないものが溢れている何でもありの場所だ。だからそれぐらいやってのける人だってもしかしているのかなと。
That his face was as serious as it was made Tobimaru realize how big of a culture shock Sojiro must have been experiencing. Living up in the mountains with no electricity, in a place where the night sky was as it always had been, where humans were just one more organism in nature's garden. It makes sense that those conditions would create a boy like him. The idea of children growing up so pure was an appealing one, but maybe it was natural to forgo civilization when your population was so small. I don't know what a population is, but I almost said it. Or perhaps it was so simple a world that excessive knowledge was deemed irrelevant. It was precisely because city life offered him so much that that was impossible up until now that he'd come to the conclusion that anything was possible here.
安心しろ。確かにこっちには たちの悪い奴らばっかりだけどな。
I mean, you might actually run into some street musicians. You know, if you've ever been to any big city and walked around, you'll find a street musician trying to get fucking money out of
そう
you.
だといいんだけど。
But Sojiro seemed unsure. And on Tobimaru's part, there were things to Sojiro's story that he found hard to swallow. Whether true or not, the incident Sojiro had described was disturbing.
まあ、事の真偽というか、どんな間違いでそう見えたかは置いておいてだ。結果だけ見れば、うちの生徒が夜の公園で人を殺したってことになる。しかも双方を控えめに表現しても普通じゃねえ。
As a newcomer to town, Sojiro assumed that everyone his age was a student at the school. Now, for better or worse, he was right.
一人は火炎放射器を持って、
I mean,
もう一
if
人
there's
は
like
まあなんだ。
only one school in town, then
なぎなたでも持ち出したのか、刃物らしきものが何メートルも伸びたときた。
Sojiro bobbed his head up and down as he listened to the disbelief in Tobimaru's voice. Hearing it repeated by someone else, you'd see how someone might think he was taking them for a ride.
正気を疑うな。尋常じゃないぞ、その話。
宗十郎、お前、実は俺をからかって
I
ん
mean,
だろ。
he doesn't mean to be. He's
い
honestly
や
asking.
全く。けどまあ、都会にはそんな人間はいないんだろ。
Well,
なら飛び丸の言う通り、夢でも見てたんだ。
you know, working too hard,
ここのところ
readjusting,
ア
you
ルバ
know,
イトと試験が
mentally
重なって
taxed.
辛くて。
stranger things have happened. Winter break was just around the corner, and the end of term exams were but a week away. Both were proving formidable opponents for Sojiro.
俺は基本ができてないから、人の倍程度の勉強じゃ追いつけない。ほら、勉強ばかりしているとノイローゼをするんだろ。
Yeah, but the amount of how hard you've been fucking running your head, wouldn't it be surprising if a few screws got knocked a bit loose?
そりゃするんじゃなくてなるものだが、
Humans are finicky machines.
何にせよ、やりすぎ飲みすぎはよくねえわな。
減らしてはいるんだけどね。年末ってアルバイトを休む人も多くて、その代行も頼まれがちだし。
Gotta love covering. He shrugged helplessly. It was obvious from his words that he had been busy. Even if he was not going crazy, lack of sleep could have caused him to daydream, even if all he did was go down in the middle of the night. Even if this all did go down in the middle of the night.
なんだか大変そうだな、宗十郎。
Words. They need to be read in a proper order to form a proper sentence. Especially when they're displayed in a sentence on screen that I have to read.
都会の暮らしは深刻だ。
Sojiro nodded with a pained look on his face. What was strange, however, was that he did not look the least bit tired.
泣き言言わねえのは感心するけどな。お前、新郎は顔に出ないたちか？
You know, just gotta roll with the punches, take it how it is.
そりゃ、新郎はどこも痛まないからね。
As he answered, Sojiro looked up at the clock on the wall. Lunchtime was almost over.
飛び丸、時間だ。
Time to meet someone in the hallway.
ああ、もうそんなに経ったか。気にせず先に行ってていいぜ。
Yeah, you
俺はま
know,
だ用がある
go
から
go
な。
have some alone time with Aoko. Sojiro watched as Tobimaru made a gesture that seemed to lament the life of a student council member. His eyes looked as if they were looking at a piece of art and not understanding its value.
授業をサボれる身分っていうのは羨ましいな。そういうの、飛び丸が嫌いな手抜きじゃないのか？
そりゃ誤解も甚だしい。俺の欠席は手抜きじゃねえ。特
He's
権って
focused
や
on
つだと言ったろ。
extracurricular activities. He's gonna have to make the time up later for any assignments anyway. The vice president angrily defended himself as he stood up. The transfer student merely gazed at him, unfazed.
おいおい、あれだけ説明したのに全然分かってなかったのか？しょうがねえ。まず座れ。いいか、その字。常人を上回る英気と幸運を兼ね備えながら、座することなく精進
Yes,
して
you're
き
so
た俺でも、
superior.
ここを卒業しちまえば、裸一貫になっちまうんだぞ。 ひでえ話だ。
Yeah, you don't want to be the guy that peaked in high school and then his whole entire life was fucking downhill from there.
てめえの家柄を活用できんのは
Yeah.
あと1年ちょいだけなん
Once
だ
you're out of
ぜ。
school, who fucking cares if
こ
you're
れの
the
一体
school
どこが
chairman's
羨ま
son?
しいってんだ。普通一生続くはずの親の七光ってやつが俺の場合はたった3年間しかねえんだからな。
Well, at least you're aware of your position.
となりゃ
Use it for all it's worth for the 3 years you got it, but you know,
もった
have
い
an
なく
exit
てお
plan.
ちおち眠って
Doing
もい
better
られ
than
ね
most people, honestly.
ああ、嫌だ嫌だ。
A little self-awareness goes a long
何
way.
が嫌かってバカどもとガン首並べて金勘定するのが嫌だ。たく嫉妬渦巻く大人の世界じゃ俺のオブラートみたいな心なんてパックリ飲まれて溶けちまうこと受け合いだろうさ。
Unless you just, like, you know, get a relevant degree and go into the education field and, you know, be in the school system like your old man and fucking ride his coattails as far as it'll take you. Well, he must have been joking. Sojiro took his tone to be completely sincere. He listened as he envied Tobimaru's ability to be so open about his feelings. From his frame of reference, there was nothing he could do but take Tobimaru for his word. When?
あら、そんな権利なんて留年すればいくらでも
Yeah,
引き
just
伸ばせるの
fucking
に。
stay back a couple
なん
years.
なら協力してあげましょうか。
The door to the student council room flew open, washing away Sojiro's half-hearted response to his friend. Or she can fucking put in sabbatical leave when you're in the hospital recovering. This frosty statement destroyed the warm atmosphere of the room. It also marked the abrupt end of Tobimaru Tsukiji's reign there.
いや、いい。自分の夢は自分の力だけで叶えようと常々思ってるんだ。
そう。なら今みたいな恥ずかしいこと力説しないでね。廊下にまで聞こえてたわよ、副会長さん。
Oh, he must really be speaking from his diaphragm in order to project his voice that far. Either that or the school's been skimping out insulation and the walls are real thin. Not missing a beat, Aoko Ozaki stepped inside the room. Her dark hair was slightly disheveled, as if she had been running. Her gaze missed the sitting Sojiro entirely and was focused completely on the ranting vice president.
頑張れ、飛び丸。
Sojiro quietly got up to head back to his classroom.
割と薄情なんだな、お前って。
Yep, take your lumps like a man. Tobimaru grumbled in front of Aoko,
だって時間がない。
but I don't think she's here for him.
だから、そういうのが薄情とだな。
He cut himself off. Aoko briefly shifted her gaze to Sojiro.
時間がないのは私も同じよ。あなたにはいつも振り回される。
Not a complaint, it was her honest opinion.
なんだ要件は操縦
Oh,
郎かよ。
yep. You saw some magic. Now she's got to kill him. Just how it is.
安心なさい。あなたにもあるから。
Her eyes shimmered with a murderous glee. It was slightly different from the more sullen gaze to which Tobimaru had grown accustomed. For whatever reason, Aoko's mood seemed worse than usual.
しずきくん、
Well,
Anata.
yeah, work got involved
走
in
る
her
のと泳
personal
ぐの
life.
どっちが好き？
No one likes that. I mean, if he's from the mountains, he probably doesn't even know how to swim unless they had like a good river nearby. Aoko asked abruptly. Sojiro frowned a little before saying he was fine with either one.
ダメよ。一つにして。
泳ぐ方。
Yeah, I prefer swimming too. Mainly because
Pero,
of
¿dónde?
aforementioned shin splints that I mentioned before.
あなたがまだどこの部にも所属してないから。
Is that mandatory? A succinct reply. One that left no room for Sojiro to object.
うちの校則読んだわよね。生徒はただ
Is
一
the
人の
Go
例
Home
外もな
Club
く
a
部活動に参加しなく
registered
てはなら
thing
ない。
here?
正直どうかと思う校則だけど、決まりは決まりだから。
I was about to say, what club are you in? But then student council probably fills that
そ
slot.
んな無茶な。悪いけど、そこまでの暇はないんだ。
でしょうね。
An equally terse response. Oh. I didn't mean to hit that. Back. Go. Shoot. She was typically to the point, but Tobimaru got the impression that she was that she was expressly trying to keep her interaction with Sojiro short. And cut. 104. 104. Three, two, one. All right, I totally just didn't stop my recording in order to get another beer. Anyway, where were we? They stared at each other in silence. Tobimaru stood breathlessly silent on the sidelines until Sojiro broke the impasse.
青崎は分かってると思ってた。あ、いや違う。きっと分かっているんだな。
What do you mean?
だから、そこが強いんだろうね。
Sojiro stood up from his seat. Yeah, you're busy too, ain't you? He walked past Aoko into the hallway.
それ、明日からでいいんだろ？
しずきくんがいいならね。
He did his best to force a smile before leaving the student council room. While watching the events play out, Tobimaru found himself deeply impressed with Sojiro. He could tell from Aoko's behavior that she was trying to get a rise out of Sojiro. Sojiro, on the other hand, was none the wiser to what Aoko was doing, so he simply went about his way. To Tobimaru, it was hard to believe that Sojiro had not taken offense. All he observed was the performance of a lifetime in Sojiro as he maintained a poker face. I mean, it wasn't really a poker face, it was just kind of him taking it.
何が強いんだろうな、会長。
Just didn't know any better. He looked at Aoko curiously. Aoko stood completely still, staring at the wall.
青崎?
Her fucking vein in her head about to explode. Aoko showed no response.
おい、会長。
Let
青
her
崎。
boil in peace, bud.
青子女子。おい、聞いてんのかよ、青崎青子。
さいはね、青々呼ぶな。
Her fury echoed across the student council room. It was a beautiful sound that could be heard into the hallway and made Tobimaru's rant from earlier pale in comparison.
やかましい。うるせえのはてめえも同じだ。
Perhaps her shouting was still ringing in his ears, or he was the type to answer a shout with a shout, but he shot back reflexively.
そんなんだから男の一人もできねえんだよ、お前は。
Fucking femcel Aoko.
目覚めた
I
か
can see it.
別にあなたの声は聞こえてた。煩わしかったから無視してただけよ。黙らせるの面倒だし。
てめえな、俺はカカなんかか、おい。
Just be glad she doesn't smush you.
コミュニケーションが成立しない点で言えば、あっちのがまだ上品よね。
ほう、その心は？
お互い何を言ってるかわからない。意味のない会話なら、仰せみたいなものでしょ。
Based on that statement, Aoko must have been under the assumption that dating is an act of two lovers whispering nonsense to each other.
問題はお前にとって意味のある会話ってのがどの程度の価値かってことだが、まあいいか。いつになくきついじゃねえか、青崎。
Nah, she's real intense.
ちょっとね、今愛嬌を振りまける状況じゃないのよ。
Like to smooth you over with the silver tongue.
不思議だ。この2年間で青崎の愛嬌なんてものは見たことがないんだが。
And yes, I'm like this even when I'm not drinking. Just so you know, if you're new here. Get used to it.
そうかよ。やっぱりあの時のこと恨んでるんだろう、生徒会長さんはよ。
There's only one thing that Tobimaru could be talking about. The incident that occurred in the student council room this past summer.
え？ずいぶんと昔の話じゃないそれ。
Yeah, you're the only one hung up on it. It's your fucking guilty conscience fucking chaining you down.
そんなどうでもいいことに容量を使っちゃもったいないわよ。ただでさえ脳の覚醒部分が少ないのに。
Yeah, it's fucking water under the bridge to her. As the conversation wore on, Ako's murderous aura began to fade, and her sharp gaze gave way to a calmer demeanor, rarely seen from her. It was quite possible that nobody besides Tobimaru had ever seen this side of her at school before.
ご忠告どうも。俺だってあんなことは忘れてよ。
That probably makes you feel like real shit every time you think about it, but it should, so reap what you sow, bud.
考えてみりゃ場所まで一緒じゃねえか。
Despite his ranting, his face betrayed a touch of nostalgia. Ah, reckless youth. Ako, on the other hand, was scowling.
ちょっと待って。
I mean, that's her resting expression, so...
あの話、彼にしたの？
Sure did.
おう、俺がてめえになんで会長になんか立候補したのよ。あんたは副会長って顔でしょ、どう見ても。
Yeah, you're not main character material, but hate to tell you.
生涯最高の月をしたところまでな。
Ako let out a sigh, as if relieved that Tobimaru had not told Sojiro the rest of the story. Even she wasn't sure why. What, you get the fucking shit kicked out of you, bud?
あれは確かにびっくりするぐらいいい月だった。思わず体が反応しちゃったもんね。ところで、私そんなこと言ったっけ？
言った。しかも俺が保健室に運ばれたのをこれ幸いと強引に副会長にしやがった。
Since that day, Tobimaru had served as the vice president to the person who usurped the role from him.
いいけどな。
Fucking
俺
trial
に
by
会長室
combat.
から合わねえって分かったし、副会長の方が性に合ってやがる。会長なんてやってたら危うく親父みたいな野郎になってただろうしよ。
プライド高い分、できることは全部やるからね、飛び丸は。
Not that that's a bad thing.
会長職に先進するあまり、
But, you know,
気
you
が
gotta
つい
learn
たら
to
優等生に
unwind
な
a
ってたあ
little.
んたも見たかったけど。
やめてくれ、ゾッとしね
A tree that doesn't bend in the wind breaks in the storm and all that.
え。猫かぶるのはお前だけで十分だ。
Tobimaru shooed Aoko away like an annoying pest. It was a typical example of the crude verbal abuse they exchanged on a daily basis, with a witness that only two longtime foes could imagine. Wittiness. There was an extra I in there.
で、なんでそんな話したのよ。
は？
半年前のここの事件を。
ああ、そっちか。いや、あいつがバカなこと口走ったからなんだが。
Yeah, he was trying to save him before he got in too deep. He stopped himself before saying any more. He knew better than to let slip the fact that Sojiro had a thing for Aoko. Everyone knew guys didn't sell each other out like that, even if it was, in truth, a misunderstanding.
それより、さっきのはないんじゃねえのか、青崎。
Well, I said before he's in too deep, but this his VN here is on the Switch. I doubt Sojiro's going to be getting any too deep in Aoko, anytime soon, you know what I mean.
お前、 宗十郎に恨みでもあんの？
Those parts get cut out, and you have to go in the description to find them through a link on Mega Drive.
7日以上前の恨みを引きずるほど私はお姫様じゃないつもりだけど。
Because that's how I got burned on my first channel. I played the director's cut patch of Muv-Luv and Muv-Luv Unlimited with some of the spicy content, let's say, in there. And even with, the screen censored in the appropriate places, the saucy dialogue was still enough to bust YouTube's terms of service. So there went my original channel with my entire playthrough of Muv-Luv Unlimited, the original Muv-Luv, and the first 12 episodes of Muv-Luv Alternative. And of course, this was right when I was transitioning to a new PC, so I was reformatting my hard drives to get rid of old junk, and I lost all my original copies of those videos, so they were just gone forever to the ether. I also lost, I probably recorded 15 parts of Little Busters. That was the first series I ever did when I was cutting my teeth. I was doing a reread, that's why I stopped partway through, because I just wasn't enjoying it, Going in blind is really the way to go for these kinds of things. If it's a reread, you know what's coming, so it's not very good content, and you're just kind of I wasn't feeling it. So I'm kind of glad those Little Buster videos are gone, because that was rough. Was using the same mic I am now, except I was doing all my editing in drumroll please, Windows Movie Maker. Ooh, that was actually really hard to do. Doing proper cuts and editing and effects. Yikes. Ooh. Ah. But I am a little salty about the Muv-Luv stuff that got lost in the ether. No way to get those back. Moving on. If I can find the right button to click so I don't end up bringing up the backlog. He wanted to retort that she was more like a queen than a princess. But he'd come to know her too well over the past 2 years to dig himself into a hole like that.
恨みはないね。それにしちゃ恋に喧嘩売ってただろ。なんでだ。確かに調子の狂うやつだが、あいつほどいいやつはいねえだろうに。
Hey, he doesn't mean anything, bad. Oh, that's a fucking face. Man, Aoko has the best faces.
おい待て。なんだその足元のシロアリを見るかのような態度は。
別にあんたまでそのセリフを言うのかって心底から見避け果てただけよ。
は？
まあいっか。いいやつ、いい人、結構じゃない？喧嘩を売る相手としちゃ上等だわ。誰も憎んであげないなら。
You're all the evil in the world then? Alright. Go fucking get him, Angry Mango. She said casually, having regained her composure.
しないとねって、お前。
Tobimaro could not follow her reasoning at all. Tobimaro was used to Aoko's erratic trains of thought, but hating Sojiro for no reason seemed needlessly cruel. His friend's naive and innocent face came to mind, and then he blurted,
けど、宗十郎は青崎が好きなんだぜ。それでも嫌いなのか？
His vow of silence had lasted not even 2 minutes.
いや、今のはな、
As a friend, because you're so good to him, showing him around and all. He tried to take it back, but it was too late. Genie's out of the bottle. She had heard his words loud and clear. All he could hope for was that she would take it well.
そりゃそうでしょ。好き嫌いは誰にもあるし。けどこればかりはね。彼が私と仲良くしたいって言っても、私は嫌いなんだから仕方ない。
Fair. Stone, cold, Aoko. I almost reflexively said Steve Austin, like a fucking knee-jerk reaction. Tobimaro found himself filled with indignation of how detached Aoko was being.
Iや、そんなお友達感覚の話じゃなくてだな。
I should probably bump up the text speed if I can. Because, the way, people read sentences is, you just kind of look at it, and you don't read it letter by letter. You look at the words, and you just kind of like your brain instinctively like remembers the words. The way I've heard it described is like you're not reading it letter by letter. You're looking at it and like remembering it like it's a face, and the word just pops into your head. But because the text speed's a little slow and popping up, when you're going through the sentence, it's kind of like, okay, I've got it all the way up and it's still ticking along. So I'm just going, just waiting for it to show. And, you know, if the whole sentence like across the screen really fast, then boom, I got the whole thing. I just fucking flash read it.
そういう好き嫌いじゃなくて、その字は本気でお前に惚れてるって
Don't know
言
why
ったん
I'm
だよ。
defending my inability to read, so I don't sound stupid to you guys, because you should probably know by now, I'm pretty dumb, so my inability to read is, you know, a natural byproduct of that. He shouted, his face the embodiment of sincerity. Alco gave him a blank stare. It was the face of someone who had lost their wallet hours earlier and only realized it now. The first instant of doubt that ushered in the reality of the situation. But an instant was all it was.
Ne?
Ugh. She answered coolly, as if she had no idea why it would matter to her at all.
出ときた
All
か。
business.
鬼でもなけりゃ悪魔
Fucking
だな。
heartbreaker.
お前って女は。よかろう。聞こえなかったのならもう一度言ってやる。
The heart of an adolescent man is a very delicate thing, Alco. You can't go treating it lightly. Tobimaru gave up any pretense of masculine solidarity and fired back hard.
いいわよそんなの。つまらないもの。
She ruthlessly cut him off. Thinking of the boys who still harbored unrequited love for Alco, Tobimaru tried hard to come up with a name befitting the demoness in front of him.
なるほどね。それでさっきの話に結びつくわけだ。へえ。柄にもなく友達思いじゃない殿下。
I use that smug emote on Discord and it gives me so much power, but seeing it fired back at me is painful.
ってことは、聞くも無残、語るも無情っていう私の噂話、教えてあげたんでしょ？
Not really. She laughed as a fiendish smile adorned her face. Tobimaru repented to God, whoever and wherever he or she might be, for even bringing up Alco's love life.
飛び丸にしちゃ正しい判断ね。褒めてあげるから、どんな話をしたのか聞きたいな。
Nah, don't squeal, bud, don't squeal. I believe in you. Resist. She was smiling, but Tobimaru wished she'd at least try to hide the bloodlust.
代表作とここでの事件を2つばかり。
Fucking spaghetti all out of his pockets. Beans on the table. All of it. Alco nodded with satisfaction as she listened to Tobimaru's hesitant answer.
こういう時、噂話って便利よね。うるさいのを追っ払ってくれるから。でも、
Yeah, you know, they lose their power if you spread it around a little too much. Had this been in writing, the chillingly sweet tone of her words could have been signed with a heart. Whether angry or happy, Alco spoke in a disturbingly cute manner when she was in a heightened emotional state. That's an odd little fucking tick. Tobimaru took note of this new discovery, aware that it did nothing to get him out of this situation.
ああ。俺も命は惜しいからな。口はもう滑らねえよ。けど、青崎。本気で宗十郎が嫌いなのか？
She doesn't hate him. It's just business. He knew that it was a topic he would be better off avoiding, but he tried asking anyway. The bonds between men, at times, shone more beautifully than a pearl.
まあ、好きじゃないから嫌いっていうわけじゃないけど、私が彼のことを嫌う理由は自分でもわからない。
You don't need a
だから
reason
ダメ
for
なの
feeling
ね
why you
きっ
feel.
と。
Perhaps to placate Tobimaru, Alco paused in contemplation before she answered. Giving it a moment without immediately blurting out a response meant that not even he could complain.
そうか。まあ、そういうことならしょうがねえか。何しろ、綺麗さっぱり感情論だ。お互い理由もなく好きと嫌いじゃ、 手を貸す隙間も
It
ね
is
え
what
わけ
it
だし
is, bud. Thinking that would be the end of it, Tobimaru looked up towards the ceiling and silently apologized to Sojiro. However, his final sentence appeared to have piqued Ako's interest.
待って、今のどういう意味？
Her faux cheer had vanished. Failing to pick up on this, Tobimaru answered nonchalantly.
いや、あいつもさ、青崎に惚れた理由がわからないなんて言いやがってな。ああ、違ったか。理由なんてないなんて意味だったかな。
Tobimaru was still in disbelief that Sojiro had been charmed by Ako's appearance, so he purposely left that part out.
理由はないですって。
ああ、なんで。俺がいくらお前の噂話をしても無駄だった。天津さえなんて言ってたかな。あ、そうそう。理由はどうあれ、青崎の心配は本
She
物なん
tries to
だ
keep her
と
cards close to her
自
chest,
分は
but
それで
no,
助
she
かってる
is,
とか。俺なんかには言えないセリフだったのは確かだね。
even if it's
どうにも
thinly veiled.
はっきりしてんのは他の野郎どもと違って噂を聞いても手を引く素振りなんざみじんもなかったってことだけ。
Tobimaru finally noticed the shift in Ako's demeanor. That's a fucking scowl. She was scowling at the wall. She glared at it in silence like it was her worst enemy. This continued for several minutes.
何それ？さっきといいそれといい、どこかで聞いたようなことばっかり。
I don't know, you tell me. Fucking vibrating hard. So great was her ire that the gnashing of her teeth was audible. Oh god, don't do that. Your poor enamel, you'll need to get like fucking caps. The irritation seethed until it reached a point that Aoko forgot Tobimaru was even in the room. Tobimaru looked heavenward for forgiveness, sensing that he'd brought further calamity down upon Sojiro's head. She's vibrating so hard she's gonna fucking phase shift through the floor. Just her molecules, you know, just right past all of them and the floor's molecules. Tobimaru looked away as if to indicate that he'd rather not know, but Ako ignored him and began to grumble venomously.
あいつ、私が嫌いなやつと言動が似てるのよ。誰彼構わずいい人扱いされるところとか、妙にふわふわしてるところとか、いちいち私の勘に触るところとか。
Cool, so they're not like goody two-shoes, gotcha. Glancing idly up at the clock, Tobimaru thought the last part just sounded like misplaced anger. And that was that. 1 o'clock had come and gone.
わかった。もういい。この話をした俺が悪かった。で、俺に用ってのはなんだよ。
Yeah, I was like, hey, can I
言っ
like
とくけど。
go
もう授業
now?
始まってるぜ。
Like, if you don't need me, like, I'd rather not be
授
here.
業ってなんで？いつ？
いや、さっき総の字が出てってから。
Yeah,
青
you've
崎
been
が
fucking
キラーンって
seething
壁に
so
睨んで
hard
た
you
時
can
に
hear
チャイムが鳴ったん
just
だよ。
lost in your own little
いい
world.
のか生徒会長。5次元目ばっくれて。
Oh no, I'm starting to feel the booze. I could tell in that last sentence there, my pronunciation was a little off.
いいわけないでしょ。なんで黙ってんのよあんたは。
She looked like she was on the verge of tears as she shouted and pulled at his necktie. Tobimaru raised his hands in mock surrender, a gesture reserved only for a true victor.
蚊の方がエレガントなんて言いやがった仕返しだ。
That's where you get a clip-on tie, bud.
思い知るがいい。
Is that way you don't get your
男
fucking
の
head
純
ripped
情
off
を
when
踏み
someone
にじ
grabs
った
onto
り
your
焼き
tie?
殺したりするエリート悪魔め。
相変わらず細かく根に持つ男。言動には言動で返しなさいよね卑怯者。
Throw some holy water at her. She'll probably burn, you know, the little child of Lilith she is. She tightened his necktie around his neck with a yank. Vice President smiled, a thuggish grin, as if her reaction made his victory that much sweeter.
お前の古典が破滅に向かっているのは周知の事実。そして A 組の
No,
5
no,
次元目は
Alco
言うま
doesn't
で
know
も
how
な
to
い。
read.
藤代のばあさん。青崎のこと嫌ってるしな。
Fujishiro had one of the longest tenures at the school, so it was only natural she would be in charge of teaching the classics. Is that how it works? That's not my English teacher senior year at Taco Bell at like 2 a.m. fucking stoned as a rock. Well, then again, my senior year, I was in, what even class was I in? What was it called? It was like some, like, preparation for writing college essays. I don't even remember. But I sucked at it. Not because I'm not good at writing essays, but because I never wrote them. I would always turn them in like 3 weeks late and get like half credit. Just enough to fucking pass the class. She choked him even harder with his necktie. As Aoko put words into action and mercilessly strangled Tobimaru, he saw his life flash before his eyes. Oh god, he's gonna give him that fucking good nut. You know, like, autoerotic asphyxiation must be like really fucking good, right? I've never tried it, but if people are willing to die to get that fucking nut, like, dude, it must be something good. Let's be real. You don't want to fucking nut his pants right here in the student council room now, do you, Aoko? Aoko glanced up at the clock. Still only 1:07. Her route was from the student council room on the 2nd floor to the Class A classroom on the 3rd floor. If she ran, she could make it. Yeah, next time you gotta pay for this. You know, normally people don't get this treatment for free. Aoko clicked her tongue disappointedly. What disturbed Tobimaru was that it didn't sound like an empty threat. What disturbed Tobimaru was that it didn't sound like an empty threat. She was halfway at the room before she even finished her sentence. And I'm all out of beer. Even in my fridge, it's all gone. Shame. Though I do technically still have like a 5-liter like mini keg that's been sitting in my fridge for like over a year. The beer's probably super flat. I got that in England when I was on my way back from Afghanistan. Yeah, I need to throw the thing out. Or at least like take it to a shooting range and blow it up. Finally left alone, Tobimaru closed the door, locked it, and slumped into a chair. He leaned back in the creaky folding chair and let out a sigh. The weather outside was beautiful, but the sunlight waned early in the winter. Early in the winter? Oh god, I'm getting hiccupy. Yeah, I'm fine. Before long, daylight would fade, and the unheated student council room would grow colder and colder. All the good equipment, like the heater, had ended up in the main office, so we had no choice but to settle in for a chilly afternoon. Just gotta get a heated blanket, bro. Those things are fucking lifesavers. I got one for Christmas like 2 years ago. The way my house is built, it doesn't have central heating. It just has one giant heating grate down on the 1st floor that like pumps out enough heat for the whole house. Except that my bedroom upstairs doesn't get any of the way like the stairwell like turns and with the door closed because, you know, I'm a vampire, so I sleep during the day to block out all the light. Heated blanket, oh my god, I would die without it. I'd probably just move down to the couch and like right next to the heater without it. After a somewhat suggestive monologue, Tobimaru's mind drifted. He idly wondered to himself whether Sojiro was an overcast day or a clear day sort of guy, but no answer came. Yeah, he seems like the kind of guy that would prefer a clear day. At least, he said so, at least during the last episode when he was at the church cleaning. But with that is where we're going to end it here for today, because I can feel the booze hitting, and I don't want to have to make you guys suffer anymore, and I feel like this part's going to be a little longer than the last one. I don't want to keep you guys here for like 3 hours straight. Because those videos, they're honestly a pain in the ass to watch. Like who has that time? I mean, come on. So, with that, I bid you adieu. But before that, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring the notification bell. See you next time for the next episode of Mihoyo, where Aoko was gonna beat up Sojiro, I guess. See you guys all then. Later. Bye.